Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, welcome once again to Full Fat Spoiler Chat, the show in which we folks at Nerd Caliber, we talk about a recent piece of entertainment and we talk about it in depth. We talk about what was good about it, what was bad about it, what we liked, didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, themes, tone, messages, and so on. Which means, as the all the words around here indicate, we're going to be spoiling this piece of entertainment. The piece of entertainment tonight isn't really anything I guess you can say can be spoiled because it's been out in theaters for months, or was out months ago. Eternals, the recent or this recent fall movie from Marvel Studios. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor in chief of Nerd Caliber, first person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley underscore adopter on Twitter, a couple of other places, doing a bunch of other things. Joining me tonight with the rakish baseball cap, Byron. Introduce yourself.
What's up, Doc? It is I, Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0 on multiple facets of the internet. Contributing writer, content creator, social media correspondent. I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of stuff with the site. Uh, I also do art stuff online. If you can spare a few minutes, check out my Instagram. It's BD0Art. That's BDZEROART.
Do that, folks. Go check it out. All right, so as I've said, we're going to be spoiling Eternals. If you have not yet seen it, either in theaters or it's been out on Disney Plus now for a while, if you have not yet seen it, then you probably want to watch this show after you have seen it, assuming you don't like spoilers. If you have seen it or you don't mind spoilers, feel free to hang around, get into the chats, offer your opinions about what we think about this show, what you think about this show or movie, I should say, on your own, and just interact with us. Let us know. Millie, if you're still there on YouTube, hi back and welcome to the show. Again, we're spoiling Eternals, as it says in the title of everything, so you may or may not want to hang around. And with that said, so we start off like we always do. What is Eternals? Eternals is a movie. It is based on, because it's Marvel, of course, based on a Marvel comic series that was created in 1976, written and drawn by Jack Kirby. Kirby left Marvel in 1970 over basically contract disputes and credit for his work. Went to DC, created this thing called the New Gods, which was very much in the sort of hippie, new age, but that wasn't the term they used back then, milieu, and wound up ultimately becoming one of the most important defining things of the DC universe with Darkseid and Apocalypse and so
Oh yes.
on. He came back to Marvel in 1976, apparently not happy with the way things were going at DC, and created basically the New Gods for Marvel. Um, I'm sure at the time he wouldn't have said that, but the Eternals are essentially the New Gods, except in this case, instead of being very hippie, they were very much in line with the recent Ancient Aliens stuff that had just become popular with Eric von Daniken's book Chariots of the Gods. So that's what the Eternals were. Your mic just disappeared.
How about now?
Oh, there we go. Not sure. I mean, like completely gone. No audio. It wasn't
Oh,
like it was
wow.
muffled. So anyway, um, what was your? You gestured and said something.
But aliens.
Aliens. Exactly. And so the Eternals are, as far as they know, and as far as we know at the beginning of the movie, they are aliens from a planet Olympia. They came to Earth at the behest of one of the Celestials, which, if you've seen any of the big MCU space movies, the Guardians stuff, did that get referenced anywhere else? I don't think so, but mostly the Guardians of the
Yeah,
Galaxy stuff.
yep.
The Celestials are these giant things that existed either before the Infinity Stones or actually created the Infinity Stones, depending on which MCU movie you consider canon at this point. Um, and they are obviously super powerful, super ancient beings that are very vital to the universe. Um, and basically, the story of the Eternals is that they are constantly fighting this other sort of immortal race called the Deviants, which don't look like normal humans. Um, they are humanoid in the comics, but they're kind of like Marvel's Inhumans, except all of them look really kind of weird. They're like the X-Men's Morlocks, and and so on.
Yeah.
Without at all the X-Men Morlock moral stories. You know, the Morlocks are absolutely a tale of what happens if the things that normal humans hate, the mutants, look even worse. And do the normal human looking mutants actually discriminate against them? And none of that was in Kirby's stuff about the Deviants. The Deviants were humanoids that looked ugly, and therefore they were evil. So the book didn't last very long. In the 80s, it had a short run, but the big kicker was in 90s. I have to look here and see if I can find it. The Neil Gaiman written and John Romita drawn run, 2006, 7-issue miniseries is pretty much what this is sort of based on. Oh, by the way, all of the Eternals are based on or named after, or in this world inspired the naming of various mythological characters, mostly Greek, but some Babylonian and some Shakespeare, Puck. Anyway,
Yeah.
So Icarus instead of Icarus, Makari instead of Mercury, Thena instead of Athena, and so on. But there's straight up Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
That's what his name is.
Phastos is basically Hephaestus.
Right. Druig, I guess, is supposed to be a druid. And Congo, I can't remember exactly what he looked like in the comic book, but I'm guessing that was Kirby's. Let's do something non-European, Middle Eastern here, so we can be said that we're sort of reaching out.
I thought it was Kingo.
Kingo, you're right. That's it, Kingo. And Kingo in this is played outstandingly. I'm going to screw up his name. Kumail Nanjiani. And is coded 100% as Indian, as Hindi. So yes. That solves one of those problems. The story in here is basically we get to see when the Eternals first come to Earth at the behest of Arishem, one of the leader of the Celestials, to fight the Deviants. Is what their mission is. They show up in their big sort of stone triangle spaceship called Domo, and start right out of the gate interfering with the humans, even though they're not supposed to, and helping them out. Their mission really is to just fight Deviants, just to stop Deviants from interfering with the humans or any other of Celestial's plans. And the movie takes place from that point, jumping through time to modern day, when supposedly all of the Deviants have been wiped out for more than 500 years at that point. And as it turns out, not so much. And the story is basically a mystery about how the Deviants came back. And again, spoiler chat, big spoiler. We'll start with the biggest spoiler, or not the biggest, but the first spoiler. Salma Hayek's character Ajak, who is the leader of the Eternals through all 7,000 years, the first thing they do in modern day when they run across her, she's dead. So they have to figure out how she died. obviously at the hands of a deviant, but what was the circumstances of her death, blah blah blah. And she is the one who's directly in contact with the Celestial Arishim. That ability and power moves to Gemma Chan's character Cersei, and the movie progresses from there. So, with that, and we'll get into more spoilers and so on when we talk about things that we like and we don't like. Byron, what worked for you? What did you like about this?
I really like the costuming.
Mm-hmm.
I
Agreed.
thought nice. I like a nice color palette for the Eternals themselves. I like honestly all the art direction was exquisite.
Yep.
Brian Tyree Henry. I like him in just about anything he does. The actor who played Gilgamesh, which I remember watching him throughout the movie, just thinking, why does he look so familiar? So I look him up and it's like, oh, he was the boxer. He was the boxer guy from Train to Busan.
Yeah, so he is credited initially as Don Lee in the the credits for the movie, but he's apparently now, at least on IMDb, is going by his Korean name Ma Dong Sok.
Yes,
So
which is pretty awesome.
yeah,
That and he, I get like he graduated from Columbia, so that's awesome that Ma Dong Lee is has branched out that much to where he gets a major role in a Marvel movie.
that is pretty cool. So the actor graduated from Columbia.
Yes,
Oh, cool.
and I like his performance. Oh, I like his performance a lot. He was a lot of fun for every scene that he was in.
Yep.
Especially the banter with Kingo's character.
Yeah. Very cool.
I love the
and his
chemistry.
relationship with Thana, Angelina Jolie's
Yes,
character.
I was just about to bring that up
Okay.
too. Like they had great, yeah. Him and Angelina Jolie had great chemistry. I definitely got a few good laughs out of Commander Johnny's depiction of Kingo. It was pretty hilarious.
Yep.
He was yeah. I mean, he is a comedic actor at his core. So he he played up to his strengths.
Yeah. Definitely did that. They let him do some funny stuff. But he also got in his licks. Here's a shot of him. He had basically finger guns and
Yes.
Kamehameha, which was pretty funny.
Yes.
Um,
And even the reintroduction of him as a Bollywood star,
yeah.
that was he looked like he was playing it straight, but he looked like he was just having so much fun. It's he's probably just I get to be I always want to be a Bollywood star as a kid. Now it's my chance.
Yep, that was very cool.
I like the designs of the deviants. They were all pretty cool, with the exception of the humanoid one.
So this is Crow, spelled Kro for some reason.
Yes.
And this is him pretty much near the end of the movie. Very humanoid design.
Yes. Who else? Angelina Jolie. She I could watch her reading the phone book.
Yep.
Oh yeah, one of my biggest worries was just she wasn't going to take it seriously because it's a superhero movie. And you know how the upper echelons of Hollywood feel about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But they also gave her a character with probably the most difficult and tragic story.
Yes.
So, they gave her a lot to chew on.
and I like, yeah, I like that they didn't just like try to like turn her into Wonder Woman in this movie,
Right. Yeah,
where
she
she's
was
just
definitely a different, very different character. And pretty accurate to Thena in the comics, to be honest.
yes. Um, Gemma Chan, she was all right whenever she was in scenes with Kit Harington. They had some great chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Which, again, spoiler, if she winds up in whatever Harrington, who plays Dane Whitman, if you don't know who that is in the Marvel comic book universe, it's the Black Knight, one of the members of the Avengers for quite a while. Um,
Which is
and,
something I found something I found interesting was when the movie came to theaters, there was this article that came out was like where like people were just like, no, he's not gonna become the Black Knight. I'm like, okay.
yeah, why would they introduce a character named Dane Whitman if he wasn't going to be the Black Knight? That's, yeah. Um, and super, super, super spoiler alert, for the very final end credit scene, yeah, he's the Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no question. Um, but anyway, other things that you liked.
You know, those were like my biggest likes that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. All right, so I will agree with you on pretty much all of that stuff. I really like the costume design. Here is the whole team. And there are 10 of them at the beginning, and that's a lot to work with. Um, Everybody has their own look, and it's done really well. Um, I really like Chloe Zhao's directing and cinematography. This was all
Oh
shot
yes.
on location. None of this was shot in a green screen studio. When they're in London, they're in London. I mean, if they're inside in a building, they're either in a building or they're in a studio recreation of an interior. But it wasn't a green screen studio where everything is fake. This, which is supposed to be Mesopotamia when they first arrived, 7,000 BC, is actually the Canary Islands. That's where they did the filming of this stuff. But still, you get a lot of this beautiful golden hour, lighting and so on. It really looks great.
The camera pens that were used in Kingo's Bollywood performance scene, that was some exquisite cinematography.
Yeah, and very Bollywood. They did an excellent
Yes.
job of recreating the look of the way those things are filmed. Those movies are filmed. It's a
Yeah.
good job. Um, and I like the cast. For the most part, I think everybody goes from good to outstanding. You've already mentioned Angelina Jolie. She had the probably most dramatic and difficult role to do, and she did a fantastic job with it while making the character an individual and unique character.
Yes.
It wasn't Angelina Jolie, crying for the camera. It was Thena. Um, Absolutely, Madan Sok as Gilgamesh, awesome, funny.
Yes.
Brian Tyree Henry was almost the best thing in this.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish though that he had used his natural accent.
True. Um,
You never hear him do it.
yeah, it's and there's no reason for anybody not to. Salma Hayek is clearly speaking with a Hispanic accent. Um, all of the rest of them are speaking with whatever normal accent they have, um, including, and I think he's probably the unsung best thing as far as acting goes in here. Barry, I think in Irish that's pronounced Cohen, um, as Druig. Um, he is a really complex character. There's 10 characters
Yes.
in here, and so Cersei and Icarus get the most time, but they
One
do
might argue it's too much time.
yeah, I think so. Um, but everybody gets their own time, and Druig in particular is one of the you're not entirely sure where he's going to land on any side of any issue. Um, and I think Barry Cohen did a fantastic job with it.
That
Wonderful
whole
portrayal.
that whole Druid subplot was a great red herring.
Yes, yeah, they did an excellent job with that. Um, I if I had not basically heard, what the big twist at the end was, again,
Yeah.
spoilers, 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 spoilers. You ultimately find out that the Eternals are not, in fact, from Olympia. They are created beings, artificially created beings. I mean, they're living, but they're immortal, artificially created beings that were made by the Celestials to go to a planet and basically stop the deviants from interfering with the birth of a new celestial inside that planet, which will destroy the planet and kill everybody on it. The deviants were originally created to do that job and then evolved out of it, stopped doing it, and started
Yeah.
conflicting with the job. So the celestials, many, many, many millennia ago, created the Eternals to do the job and stop the deviants.
I just had a thought. This just sounds like this sounds like it would be an awesome premise for a god game.
For what?
A god game.
Okay. God game in the sense of.
Uh like black and white,
Okay.
Spore.
Well, yeah, where you're a god, and basically, it's up to you to, either, make life or screw it up, kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that would. Jogando, welcome to the show. Hello, hello. We are spoiling Eternals in our spoiler chat as we talk about it as a review. So, warning there in case you haven't seen it and you don't like spoilers. Um, anyway, Ajax finds out, didn't particularly want to continue doing this work for the Celestials and killing everybody on Earth because they'd become fond of humans. And Icarus kills her. And it turns out Icarus is kind of the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, and by the way, shout out for, Richard Madden coming back in a role where he plays essentially a soldier who is so blinded by his dedication to something that things go terribly, terribly wrong. Game of Thrones. Welcome back, Rob Stark. Not that he can't play other things, but that's kind of on the nose there, folks.
Yeah. This is bread and butter.
It is. And of course, with Kit Harington playing Dane Whitman, it's kind of a Stark Snow reunion. That was neat, even though they have almost no screen time together. Just a little bit in London.
I bet it was all love, though. I bet it was all love when they got to see each
Oh,
other.
I'm sure. I have no doubt about it. Of a lot of the garbage that went around about Game of Thrones, one of the things that was consistent is those cast members really, really liked each other.
With a few exceptions.
Well, yeah, with a few exceptions. All right. So, what else did I like about it? So, I really liked the casting, or the acting. I liked Chloe Zhao's. I liked the plot, the twists, the intricacies of the betrayal, the plot. I thought that was a pretty good plot to hang a story on.
Yeah.
I'll get into story later on.
Yeah, the plot was definitely something I could appreciate.
Yeah, it was pretty tricky. Um,
It was a murder. It was. It was Marvel's attempt at a murder mystery.
yes, couched in a you know galactic, intergalactic, universal scale, space fantasy.
Yes.
Um, that just reminded me, I had one other thing that I wanted to point out that I thought was pretty cool. Other, again, as you had said, most of the art design. So the special effects, one, having them done on location. So the extra effort of being able to make these deviants and so on film stock that was shot not on a green screen. Kudos to the visual effects people for doing that. But also the powers effects. I love the look of the powers effects.
Yes.
It looks magical but algorithmic, and it's pretty cool.
Magi technology.
Yeah, basically. Um, let's see. Anything else?
JRPG 101.
Hmm?
That's JRPG 101.
Right. Except it's not just big circles with, you know, lines going through them. Actually, I guess it is kind of just big circles with lines going through them. I love the design of the Celestials. You get to see more of them in this look. They look a little different than they did in the sort of flashback scenes where they're being talked about in Guardians. And I guess that pretty much wraps it up. Oh, the humor. That was the other thing. Yes, like you said, I really thought the humor, particularly Kumail
Yeah.
Nanjiani as Kingo, but, oh God, I'm trying to find the actor here, and it's not right on the front page. There it is. It is on the front page. His valet, Karan,
Oh yes.
played by Harish Patel. Get that man an ongoing character role in the MCU. He is
Yes.
hilarious.
He can be the next Coulson.
Exactly. He literally could be like the valet for any cosmic scale superhero story. He's just
James Gunn put him in Guardians 3.
yes, there you
And the
go.
holiday special.
Or the holiday special. So anyway, that was those are my list of things that I liked about it. Byron, we now get into dislikes.
Yeah.
What didn't work for you? What didn't you like about it?
First thing I didn't like was Sprite as a character.
That's it. Sprite, not Puck. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Sprite was just the most. Sprite was essentially that obnoxious special guest kid in every anime. And the one. The one.
Yeah, or the obnoxious kid that joins, the 1970s or 80s sitcom when the main character leaves.
Yep.
Yep.
A good example of what Pipe was to me. Have you seen the second My Hero movie?
I haven't seen any of the My Hero movies.
Okay, well,
Only the series.
okay, like, oh yes, the Kota the the training camp arc.
Okay.
Early Kota, yeah,
Yep.
early Kota.
Yep. I can see that.
Yeah, that's basically Sprite to me, where you're just like, I'm sorry that the Cosmos dealt you a bad hand, but you're going about this all wrong, kid. Like Sprite was just like completely not was like the most nihilistic brat I've ever seen.
Except they actually toned that character down slightly from the comic, from the Neil Gaiman
Really?
comic. Yeah. Sprite is maliciously pissed off about being an eternal child in the comic.
Right. Yeah. I can get that.
All right. What else? What else is on your blast
Uh,
list?
I really wasn't a big fan of Icarus's character. It was I don't know. It's just like the whole I'm gonna disappear thing it just it felt ham fisted. It's like, did he like he separated from Cersei simply because he found out the truth, I guess.
Yeah. Apparently, yeah, and he kind of figured that most people would be like Ajax and not want to go along with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is
Uh
them first getting together back in Babylon.
I I wasn't a big fan of how they did Ajax, like in the sense that they did her dirty.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked to have seen more of her in the present story. That was like one of the saving, like, which makes me really glad that they didn't kill Brian Tyree Henry's character Fastos, because that would have become a bury your gaze trope, and Lord knows Hollywood has enough of those.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, the length of the movie, it was like it definitely was a little long in the tooth.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And the problem is because it had so many cast members, it needed to be longer. At the same time, it needed to be shorter.
Yes,
You know, it what it needed to be is two 2-hour movies. But
I could see it. And while this isn't a deal breaker, it it wasn't a deal breaker for me as far as the movie is concerned. But seeing Gilgamesh get killed, like, he was one of the most likable characters there, and it's just like, come on, man, why you gotta do Gilgamesh like that?
yeah. Yeah, and particularly because he had that relationship with Thena, you know, who
Yes,
was going through the worst, you know, things of just about any of them in the movie. Why do you got to do Thena like that too?
yeah,
It smacks a little bit of Gilgamesh got fridged, um,
yes,
because when Crow, the reason Crow looks human and not like a monster, like or a beast like all the other deviants, is that he is somehow absorbing the power and the memories of the Eternals that he kills. So he gets Ajax memories and healing power. Um, and then he
yeah,
kills Gilgamesh and gets Gilgamesh's, you know, strength and, you know, magical fists and so on, and that's what's in the screen there. He's got the sort of magical gauntlet fist that Gilgamesh can make. Um, so that might, you know, have driven Thena to do the final act that she does, you know,
yeah,
which again was a complete waste of all of that time setting up Crow. But anyway,
yeah. Oh yeah, Crow's like final design. I didn't care much for, especially his face, because it gave me Harry Potter, like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone vibe, with
yeah,
with like Voldemort's face on the back of Quirrell's head.
I can see that. I can see a little bit of the similarity. I don't get it quite so much. Um, you know, having the four eyes really helps make it particularly bizarre. So,
Yeah, it like it was like the least appealing monster design, and like that's anyone who knows me knows that I love a good monster. I love like clever monster designs.
yeah,
Like some of the dragons were some of my favorites in this movie.
yeah.
Anything that was avian, like anything that was like quadrupedal looked great, but Crow just wasn't it for me, Chief.
Yeah. So like this is one of the first times you see a deviant and it's some sort of beast, you know, fanged thing. You know, but in general they seem to mimic mythological monsters. Until Crow starts developing humanoid characteristics.
Uh, did I did I mention Icarus already?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Uh, honestly, that any other problems I can have, you'll probably bring them up, and I'll comment about them then.
All right. All right, so I've got a rant, and I'm gonna hold the rant off, and I'm gonna try to go through it real quickly when I get to it. But so the general sort of things that I didn't particularly care about, or I didn't like, um, I didn't like how they wasted Crow. They built up this deviant creature that's killing Eternals, and ultimately the fight with him is a fight between just him and Thana, aside from the fact that at that point all the rest of them are fighting that are still alive. I got to go back to one other thing I like. Makari. Makari is
Yes.
played by deaf actress Lauren Ridloff, played as a deaf entity, and is the way speedsters should work in a superhero universe. Folks, you know, watch that if you want to see how the Flash should actually work in the Flash movie. Now, that was the way a speedster should
being
work.
fun, being fun loving,
Well,
being
not just fun loving, the way the speed is used as part of the combat. Now,
yes.
it's just anyway. All right, so back to dislikes. I said this before. It had too big a cast for the amount of time, so it either needed to be a smaller cast or a longer movie, or ideally two movies. Um, it when the stories were how to put this, there are times when the stories don't make internal sense. When Cersei finally reveals that she is in fact an alien sorceress to Dane Whitman, to Kit Harington's character, and that she had a relationship, a long relationship with Icarus, a romantic relationship. And he asks, how long were you two together? And she says 7,000 years, which is when they first showed up. And in a flashback later on, we see them, literally him confessing his love to her in Babylon in 576 BC. So less than half the time she said, 2,500 years. One of those is just like, that's a stupid mistake. Why would you make that mistake? Anyway.
Maybe that was the best take they had.
That could be, but that wasn't somebody screwing up the mistake or screwing up the take. That was the writer going, oh yeah, we're going to have her say that it was 7,000 years, but then we're going to show them get together for the first time 2,500 years ago. So, there's 4,500 years of, I don't know.
I can't math.
I can't math. Well, all right. Anything else that I particularly... the story in general around that intricate plot is kind of lame.
Yeah.
I applaud Chloe Zhao's decision and the writer's decision, Chloe Zhao and plus two other people. And by the way, those two other people, Patrick Burley, who wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp, not the best one, but it had some interesting stuff. Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway. Yeah. And Ryan Furpo, who is a documentary director and writer. Why is he writing an MCU movie? Anyway.
Money.
Well, yeah. And I assume that, given Chloe Zhao's documentary past, that, they're friends or whatever. But that story is weaker than the plot it's trying to portray in many cases, and that's too bad. Honestly, you don't buy the relationship between Icarus and Gemma Chan at all, Cersei at all. And it's not
No chemistry.
it's not that Madden can't do romance. I mean, you believed 100% that he was so, besmitten with his new wife in Game of Thrones that he literally destroyed his chances at making an independent Northern Kingdom. Um, but you get none of that here, and I don't know whether that's Gemma Chan, whether it's Richard Madden, or what, but just doesn't work. Gemma Chan and, like you said, Kit Harington, Dane Whitman, Cersei and Dane Whitman is a much more believable couple.
Yes.
They have way better chemistry.
But yeah, like Richard Madden and Richard Madden and Gemma Chan definitely had zero chemistry.
Zero whatsoever. Way more chemistry between Angelina Jolie and Ma Dong-seok, and Gilgamesh. Just and Brian Tyree Henry and his husband.
Oh, absolutely, and the kid.
And the kid. This kid was so adorable. The kid may have been one of the best parts of the movie too. It's these tertiary characters. I'm gonna screw up his name again. Karun, the valet, the kid, Jack. They're the best things in the movie. One gripe, and again, spoiling the first end credit teaser. We get to see
I completely forgot about this, but yes.
So we get to see Thanos' brother, Star Fox, or his actual Titan name, Eros, who's played by Harry Styles, but he's introduced by Patton Oswalt playing Pip the Troll from the original Adam Warlock storyline that basically created the Infinity Gauntlet stuff. When I saw Pip, and it was clearly Pip, I recognized the design from that. I was just like, wait a minute. I thought Adam Warlock wasn't going to be introduced until Guardians. And then it turns out it's Star Fox. The CGI on Pip was atrocious.
Yes, it was.
I mean, decades bad. Like, really? These are the people who can turn Mark Ruffalo into the Hulk, and this is what they do with Patton Oswalt? Anyway. All right, my rant, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to get it out of the way real quickly here.
Let's hear it.
It absolutely blows my freaking mind, and it infuriates me, and I can't believe that in this day and age, Marvel, the MCU, or for that matter, Chloe Zhao, who should be all about representation, made a movie that basically promotes the racist bullshit Ancient Aliens crap that people suck up like Kool-Aid out there. I understand that is what Kirby went for in the 1970s to try to tie into the Chariots of the Gods, but they doubled down on it. And not just the vast, colossal, there's a celestial growing in the earth, stuff. The history. Humans are too stupid to have invented agriculture. They had to be given that by the Eternals. Oh, and by the way...
Or they were too stupid to create the steam engine.
Or they're too stupid to create the plow. I mean, one assumes that at some point he did give them the steam engine too. But in that scene, in Babylon, Phastos is, saying, hey, look, I developed this thing. It's an engine that runs on steam. I call it a steam engine. And by the way, that delivery from Brian Tyree Henry when Ajax is going, so this engine, steam engine. It's called a steam engine. It's like, yes. Some of the funniest stuff. But, so he says, all right, how about this? A plow. The plow had been around for 1,200 years by then. If he means the metal shared plowshare, the iron plowshare, that was invented right around 576, right around 500 BC in China.
I definitely understand your outrage from a storytelling perspective. But the misanthrope in me is kind of just like, yes, humans are that stupid.
No, they're not. Stop it. They are not. Humans are not that stupid. Humans invented everything. Phaistos is not responsible for the atomic bomb. We invented the first stick that stabbed somebody in an eye, and we invented the atomic bomb. That's on us. That is not, the ancient alien stuff is bullshit. And they made the
like I said, that's the misinterpretation. I'm not saying that you're wrong. It's just,
well, I get it, but yeah. Anyway, you know what that is, folks? That's Babylon. What are they growing there? That's corn. That's maize. Maize wouldn't reach Europe for another 1,000 years. No, not 1,500 years. Wait a minute, 1,500, 2,000 years. Damn it, my math is wrong. They're introducing agriculture into Babylon with corn. I mean, Google, first off, if you paid attention to high school, you would know that that was stupid. If you didn't, Google would tell you that was stupid. Google would tell you the plow was not invented in 576 in Babylon. Google would also tell you that a fight against gigantic monsters in front of the actual Ishtar gate of the city of Babylon in 576 would have been recorded, not just by the Babylonians, who at that point were writing in cuneiform, an alphabet that had been around for more than 1,000 years. I mean, it was invented by civilizations that they had almost forgotten about. And they recorded everything. They recorded how much daily gifts were given to temples. They recorded monthly shipments of grain from provinces, all on their tablets in cuneiform. And guess what? In 576 BC, there was a completely separate cultural group in that city writing in a separate language and a separate alphabet that recorded everything that happened to them. And that group did so in 2 books of the Bible. 576 BC was 30 years into the Babylonian captivity. There were tens or hundreds of thousands of Judean Hebrew slaves in Babylon when that took place, writing their own chronicle of things that happened to them while they were in that city. Nobody wrote that giant monsters attacked Babylon at a time when writing was commonplace around the world. The idea that this was set so far back that, that Sprite creates the myth of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, which is ridiculous because that had been around for, at that point, like 1,200 years. And every kid in Babylon would have turned to Sprite and went, no, we our parents told us that. This is no new story. This has been around for our parents. I hate, and I've ranted about this in science fiction, I hated this in Phantom Menace, I hate when writers don't do the barest minimum of research to make something fantastical when it's set in a realistic setting be believable. And this literally could have been solved with 10 seconds of typing something into Google. When was the plow invented? What were people growing in Babylon? It absolutely infuriates me that they got all of that wrong, that they're fine with that. And on top of that, they give the Babylonians the plow. They give the ancient, apparently Sumerians, although it's, before then, metallurgy. That's not when metallurgy was developed or where. I mean, it's insulting to the audience. It's insulting to us humans to say that nobody in and again, this ancient alien shit comes directly from white people. White Europeans have been, Eric von Daniken, they've been writing that, well, clearly the Egyptians weren't advanced enough to build the pyramids. You racist piece of crap. Why would Marvel pick that up and let it be part of a movie in 2021?
Because they were lazy.
Anyway, my rant is over.
Welcome, and that's the end of this episode of History Nerd Rage.
Or yeah, Nerd Rage in general. You know, insulting Nerd Rage, racist insulting Nerd Rage. I don't like racists. I don't like people who use my nerd entertainment to make racist observations. And that's what Marvel did with this movie. I'm sorry. It's anytime you put forward the ancient aliens of any kind proposition as something that might have happened, it's racist. So anyway.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it. I'm done. So, is there a theme or a tone or a message? And I'm going to try to talk about tone and message aside from that particular thing that I really hate about this. But Byron, you know, what should we take away from this?
The idea, my biggest takeaway is the idea of finding your own meaning, like in existence. Which, me personally, that's something that I've wrestled with a lot in my adult life, wondering where I fit, wondering what I'm supposed to be doing. Now I'm just. It took me a while to just realize, whatever, I'm just going to make my own meaning to life. And that's what these characters do. That's what the story does with, that's what the plot does with it.
Yep.
I'd say even with Icarus, for better or for ill.
And ultimately, you know, he gets defeated, and that's how he kind of comes around, but he does kind of come around. Enough so that he says, all right, I have to leave now, so I can't be a part of, you know, getting in a conflict with you anymore. You know, when they've won, essentially.
I would say that his heel turn, would also be him picking his own path instead of, because he could have just been he could have tried to continue to reason with them, but he chose to fight. He chose to fight them instead because he just was tired of talking.
Yep.
Also, the whole idea of instead, not just me, but destiny in general. Like the Eternals thought they came to Earth for some grand purpose, and that they were a part of this bigger picture, when in reality that was all fabricated, and which parallels a lot of people's religious journeys that I've heard about, where it's oh, I thought this person was doing this and leading me towards the path of glory, but then it all ended up being a lie.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. Before I get into my themes and messages, I'm going to do one more little minor addition to my rant. That's because I have the image here, so I want to put it. So that is Tiamat, the celestial that was supposed to be emerging out of the earth, and actually does a little bit, coming up out of the Indian Ocean, just as it's about to be ultimately completely turned to stone, apparently marble, by Cersei, who is super jack powered by the Unimind, by them all coming together, most of them coming together. So this is the Indian Ocean. And it's been said by the creators and the designers of the characters and the visual effects that their celestials are supposed to be 200 to 300 kilometers tall, or miles tall. It's more than kilometers. And so you can see those fingers on that hand. Those fingers are stretching clearly up, a kilometer or two. It's the height of the Burj Khalifa. A hand that's, I don't know, as wide as the end of Manhattan. Wow. So if you go back and look at that, you notice that there are these ripples around them. That would be a tidal wave that would wipe out every village, city, anywhere on the shores of the Indian Ocean. All of East Africa would be gone. every coastal city in India would be gone. Thailand, Indonesia, Perth, Australia, wiped off the face of the earth. And they just, again, it's one of those, look at your own special effects. On a hand with a thumb that's a kilometer high, you've got a wave that's a roughly 10% of that. So you've got a wave that's 100 meters tall, created by something that literally just went out of the bottom of the Indian Ocean. It's going to destroy everything around the Indian Ocean. You can kiss the U.S. base at Diego Garcia goodbye, because that actually looks like it's coming up right about where that base is. But anyway, so I think it's pretty clear that, to me, the overriding theme of this is don't trust authority. That authority, particularly authority with essentially absolute power over you, will always screw you over. From Icarus on all the way up to Arishem, the head celestial who had been lying to the Eternals. So apparently they've done this spawning a celestial in a planet dozens of times, maybe hundreds.
For centuries.
Well, more than that, because they were on Earth for 7,000 years. It takes the population of the planet has to reach a certain point for the celestial to become activated. And in this case, it was 7,000 years from when they first got here to 8+ billion people. So
this is it was very reflective of the the relationship between the higher ups and middle management, Icarus and Ashram.
Right. But so since it takes a minimum of 7,000 years for this to happen, it's not been centuries or millennia. It's been eons that they've been doing this. And Arishem just, wipes out their memory, and reboots them essentially.
Erase the hard drive every time.
Yep. So yeah. I mean, you talk about a betrayal by the person in power or the being in power above you. And can you look at that as being kind of anti-religious? Yeah, probably. They certainly have lost their faith in what is definitely their God by the end of this movie. So I think that's probably, to me, and of course, as is always the case, found family.
Oh yes.
And as is always the case in the MCU, in the certainly since Endgame, grief. The grief of the loss of Ajak. Of Gilgamesh, of the grief at the betrayal of Icarus. So yeah, it's I think that's a really big part of it as well, and I guess that storyline is going to go through everything in the MCU going forward.
They have to.
Speaking of going through, so this changes literally everything in the MCU. There is a head and a hand roughly the size of Mount Everest sticking out of the Indian Ocean right now, and everybody on Earth knows that the planet was, or will know, because there's no way something like that's going to be kept secret, somebody's going to figure it out, was going to be destroyed when this thing came out of the Earth. If there's any MCU movie going forward where that isn't an important part of the background, it's wrong.
I mean, I'd be happy if they had like a storyline where Damage Control flew out to that part of the Indian Ocean and just bombed the hell out of that statue.
It's too late. Our spy satellites have pictures of it. Everybody else's spy satellites now have pictures of it. If it came out like that and it existed for more than a few minutes, there are pictures of it from space. I mean, look at the Tonga volcano. There were pictures of that were taken by the geostationary weather satellites 320,000 miles out in orbit that are clear as a bell. Now, and this is bigger than that volcano. So it's going to be on, the Weather Channel within seconds. But anyway, I get your point. It just wouldn't be believable. You would literally have to have Druig take it away from everybody's memories, or have, God forbid, Strange try to do something with it. That didn't work out very well.
Or I mean, if we're just talking about getting rid of it from like a cinematic standpoint, they could have a scene in She-Hulk where both her and Bruce are fighting enemies, and they just smash it back. They smash the piece into the water.
Yeah, I guess you're not getting my point. The minute this thing appeared, weather satellites got photos of it.
Oh no, I'm not. I get your point there. I'm just saying, like, as far as getting, like, no, I mean more getting rid of it for like seeing the movies.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, all right, that could happen. Anyway, let's wrap it up here, because actually we went way long, and that's my fault. I'm sorry, folks. I get very excited and very frustrated and pissed off about stuff like what I ranted about. Scale of 1 to 10, and would you recommend it?
I give it a 7. If you're completely invested in MCU lore, I don't see any harm in going to see it. Like, it's definitely not the worst Marvel movie, despite what some of these shills online are saying. That title still goes to Dark World, and I will die on that hill.
There are a lot of people who are, for some reason, coming around that it might not be the worst. You're right, it's the worst. No question about that.
Yes.
All right, so I would probably put it at a 7 if it wasn't for this whole Ancient Alien stuff, and that brings it to a 5 to me.
Fair enough.
But I would say, again, if you're an MCU fan or completionist, I would watch it because it is clearly going to be incredibly important. It's going to be a part of all of the cosmic stuff going forward. So it's going to influence at least the Guardians 3, the Marvels, the Captain Marvel sequel that's coming up, any of the other cosmic level things. Maybe it'll...
Marvel. I was gonna say the Marvels would be a good excuse for them to destroy it, and like they're in one of those battle.
Yes, it would. It's time to get off that. So because of that, because of the fact that this is going to be so important going forward in the rest of Phase 4 and Phase 5, I would say yes, you should watch it. If you watch it at home on Disney Plus while you're knitting or something, that'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth paying attention because the plot is interesting, but the story to drive that plot isn't interesting enough that you can't just sort of dip in and out of it enough to be able to figure out what's going on.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So that said, thank you for hanging around, folks. It was a long one. Sorry about that. I'll skip over our promos.
Thank you for indulging us.
I
said yes. Thank you for indulging us.
Thank you for indulging me more than anything. But yeah. I'll skip the graphics. If you've got Twitch, go to twitch.com/nerdcaliber and please follow us. We'd love to have you. If you like Patreon and you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/nerdcaliber and join on one of our 3 tiers. We will see you Monday, Anime Octane. We're going to be talking about our favorite and maybe not so favorite new winter 2022 shows. Most everything will have at least 3 episodes at that point. And Tuesday, Nerd Week Live, more new stuff. Lots of interesting things dropped in the past few days. And then next week, No Nerd Caliber is something that I should once again have known about. Not No Nerd Caliber.
Chat.
Full Fat Spoiler Chat.
Yeah.
And it is, because I've got it up right here. Okay. Currently, it's the Doctor Who New Year's Eve special. We'll have to see about that, because a lot of other interesting things have dropped since then that we didn't know about when we were creating this list. But we'll let you know well in advance whether it's going to be that or not. And we will see you at an upcoming show. Please stay safe, folks. Byron, give us a goodbye.
Hey guys, again, Byron D0. Check out my art on Instagram. I just I just I just started posting a bunch of like form sketches. It's more for myself, but if you're trying to work on your form, check them out. It's BD0 Art. BDZEROART. Have a good night, y'all.
And I'm
Make
gonna
sure to
get,
wash your hands.
yes, yeah. Be sure to wear an N95 mask if you have to go inside anywhere. I missed some chats while I was ranting so much. Manny, really dicey. Thanks. Give him hell, Rodney. I did my best. And Ivan back there on the live Facebook lives. I wish I had seen this. They could claim Banksy made it. Damn it, that was perfect. And from here on out, oh, this is a good point. From here on out, Thanos was a robot trying to save the galaxy. Yep, Thanos is an Eternal.
Yeah.
He was a created being, robot, android, whatever you want to call it. That was trying to save the galaxy by wiping out half of everything. Any of the planets where there was a celestial that was close was suddenly set back by about half of its time. Good point. Anyway, on that interesting note, we will see you at an upcoming show.